Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to News and Views on Salam Media with me, Shabna Palisa Muhammad, standing in for Salailo. It is the 24th of December 2025, and on today's show, for our third segment, we're talking to Tauriq Jenkins, who is an activist, an artist, an academic, and a historian, and currently probably on his way to court to defend a survivor of gender based violence as an activist, that is. So Tariq very much involved in social issues, actively working to make a difference, whether it's Amazon that is causing damage in the Western Cape, all the way to Palestine or gender-based violence, etc. So Tariq Jenkins, I hope you can hear us. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning.
Walaikum salam, Commissioner. Thank you for having me.
You're most welcome. I believe you're having some network issues, so we have you on the telephone this morning.
Yes, my apologies for that.
That's absolutely fine. Perhaps let's start quickly with you are on your way to a bail hearing on an arrested motorist that ran over protesters during the Gender-Based Violence Day of Action in Cape Town. What can you share with us, Tariq?
Yes. As some of the listeners might recall, on the very historic and important Day of Action that was held a few weeks ago, where there was such a consolidated show of solidarity by thousands of South Africans in coordinated efforts to bring to the fore this massive issue that we have in our country of gender-based violence. And out of all the peaceful protest actions and various community initiatives that were that occurred on that particular day, it was only in Cape Town, in the Western Cape, where there was a registered account of violence that had happened, across the board during those peaceful protests. And this happened in Observatory just after noon, when an angry motorist, what appears to be clearly upset by what were mostly a group of women activists in a circle who were peacefully, protesting in solidarity with this action, used the vehicle to harm two of them. One, an elderly lady, was also hospitalized, having injuries to her shoulder, and another resident who's part of an occupation in Observatory Singabalapa had his arm broken. And so after a number of weeks since then, the South African Police Service were effective to arrest the suspect, and there is a bail hearing, that is to be held early this morning.
Thank you very much for sharing with us what you're busy with this morning, Tauriq Jenkins. From there, can we talk about a development I learned about from you, which is the Western Cape Government Development Proposal at Oudemollen Eco Village, which poses another threat on the Two Rivers Urban Park. Tauriq, please enlighten us.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak about this particular issue. Currently, Oudemollen Eco Village is subject to a series of commentary processes. One is to respond to a heritage impact assessment by the Western Cape government. The issue here is that, and the huge concern is that because of what has happened in the Two Rivers Urban Park area, where major large-scale developments have been allowed to happen, despite a number of environmental and heritage concerns, including huge protest action that had taken place over years. And while there is still court proceedings that are happening around the controversial Amazon River Club development. What this has created is a particular high level of vulnerability within the club area, where we are now seeing similar, highly inappropriate, large density type scale development proposals in the precinct. Oudemolin Eco Village is one of the most enriched heritage places that we have, not just in the Two Rivers Urban Park, but in South Africa. It has a pre-colonial history, but also is part of a recent tapestry in terms of this country's entanglement with colonialism, starting from 1657, even before that, with the Portuguese in 1510. And it is considered as part of an epicenter of liberation and resistance, where the first farms were purposed, or if one would say gifted, to the employees of the Dutch East India Company, the Freeburger farmers, who were gifted land on either side of the Liesbeek River. And this is very historic and important for us as South Africans, because this is also where Roman Dutch law was weaponized to justify the theft of indigenous land, and where, the traces of the first commercial agricultural repurposing of indigenous soil happened. And it is within the context of this interconnected heritage and cultural precinct, which is the Two Rivers Park, where Oudemolin, which holds some of the most intense heritage resources, is again, as perceived by the residents and by many of the parties that are objecting to this development, it's perceived as being under a very, very serious threat of a similar kind of situation that has occurred just down the road at the Riverlands.
This is such important information that you're bringing to us, Tauriq, and certainly we need to raise awareness across media platforms in our country, in Africa, and around the world, because not only are we seeing an established pattern, but we are seeing a precedent being set. And so therefore, work of people like yourself and your organization, Save Our Sacred Lands, is incredibly important. We'll take a quick ad break, Tauriq, and when we come back, let's also talk about the City of Cape Town facing community backlash over proposed 180 million rand wall on the N2.
Rejuvenating media day by day. This is Salam Media.
Ah, the kitchen, the heart of the home, where memories are made and celebrated. Our go-to place for those freshly stacked pancakes early in the morning, or for that late-night snack munchies. We are in there together, cooking, eating, and celebrating life together. Let's keep the kitchen a place that is shared by everyone, where we build stronger bonds and grow together. Sunfoil, now we cooking. Visit nowwecooking.co.za for recipes that everyone can help make.
Across Sudan, starvation is tightening its grip. With rising food prices and widespread malnutrition, 8.7 million people are now facing emergency or famine-level hunger. As the conflict intensifies and aid routes narrow, families in Sudan are running out of options and time. The Al Imdad Foundation is delivering life-saving humanitarian aid to those most at risk. Stand with Sudan. Donate online at alimdad.com or call 0861 786 243 for more information.
World-class financial services only at Sapphire Global, your financial partner. If you are looking for Islamic Sharia and ethical financial products, look no further. Sapphire Global offers a wide range of financial service offerings from short-term to life and investments. A full service center with all financial requirements under one brand. Our highly skilled and experienced consultants are ready to help protect your financial future. Contact us on 041 001 0184 or visit our website on www.sapphireglobalfs.com. Sapphire Global is an authorized financial services provider.
Penny Appeal's Education First campaign helps children to get access to quality education.
I'm 14 years old. When I grow up, I'd like to be a scientist.
We believe every child belongs at school,
And we want education, a better education.
learning and dreaming their way to a better future. With your help, we can provide classrooms, desks, stationery packs, and school shoes. Help make these dreams a reality. Visit www.pennyappeal.org.za or call 031 1100 573. Penny Appeal. Small change, big difference.
Hey Gulam.
Yeah?
Did I return your lawnmower last month?
No, bye, you didn't.
Oh no. Now what'll I do? I wanted to borrow it again, man.
With Randry Jewelers, you won't have to borrow or lend because the prices are so well trimmed on all gold and diamond jewelry. Alternatively, we could remake your old jewelry into a brilliant new design. Visit Randry Jewelers at 151 Stevens Lamini Road, Musgrave, Durban. Randry Jewelers, the family name you can trust.
Breaking stereotypes, moving boundaries, joining hands. Salam Media. Humanity sets the agenda.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to News and Views on Salam Media. We're talking to Tauriq Jenkins, amongst other topics, on heritage resources under threat in the Western Cape. Tauriq, before we move on to that very controversial 180 million rand wall on the N2, how can people get involved in protecting heritage resources in the Western Cape? And I'm not just talking about people who live in close proximity, of course, that's extremely important, but people in the rest of the country and our international allies.
Save Our Sacred Lands has a couple of portals that one could access in terms of updates on some of the key heritage resources that are under threat, especially within the Two Rivers Park area. And one can go to the Save Our Sacred Lands Facebook page, our Instagram, and on X, as well as our website. Also, if one just Googles Heritage Western Cape and Odamolan, you would also get a link with an update of the current HIA, Heritage Impact Assessment, that has been out for comment, and it's just recently closed for submission. However, these processes are ongoing, and there will be, further public participatory aspects around commentary. But more so than that, it is very important to bring about awareness in terms of the major kinds of intrusions that are happening in the context of these inappropriate large-scale developments that are threatening green open spaces of very significant environmental significance to South Africans. And the Two Rivers Urban Park in particular, as I mentioned, is considered an epicenter of liberation and resistance in our country, with this being the area of the outbreak of the First Khoi Dutch War in 1659 as a result of the initial land grab in 1657, and also a precinct that is recognized for a very important battle that took place between the Khoi and San and the Portuguese on the 1st of March 1510.
Thank you very much for that insight, Tauriq. Let's move from there now in our last few minutes together before you move on to that court case that you're attending to talk about this City of Cape Town at it again, right? Facing community backlash over proposed 180 million rand wall on the N2. Now, you've shared a link to this article with me, and you are certainly quoted in it. But essentially, The City of Cape Town's proposed 180 million rand wall along the N2 corridor to Cape Town International Airport has been met with fierce opposition over claims of a lack of public participation. Now, this is certainly a trend and a pattern in our country. Of course, before technically apartheid ended, but certainly post 1994 as well. And there's intense criticism and opposition citing lack of consultation, arguing that the city should rather fund more programs to address the root causes of crime. Your comment, Tauriq?
Well, it is a misplaced 180 million rand that should certainly go towards the alleviation of the affected communities that are reeling apartheid spatial planning, either side of the highway. But instead, we have another so-called investment that will shun and invisibilize basically what has been an horrific failure of the city in restoring dignity to poor working-class Black communities. And the disturbing logic here, it would appear, is that the emphasis is rather to ease the suffering of tourists, white and classist denialism that the N2 confronts, where the N2 is a place where one cannot visibly escape the hypocrisy of a so-called well-run city that has managed to convince the international tourist industry into designating Cape Town as a top so-called world-class destination. I think one of the key messaging issues around this wall is that it, in a way, does inadvertently, indirectly, certainly pay homage to Trump and his controversial Mexican war. It smacks of a kind of xenophobic, racist, and sort of crime and grime messaging, which seems to be interestingly timed for an election campaign. And I think historically, when you look at what walls and fences have done in this country, the first, as I mentioned, taking place in the Two Rivers Urban Park, which is now currently under threat in 1657, Jan van Riebeeck put up his infamous Pega Pega fence along the Liesbeek River, which basically prompted apartheid spatial division. It cut off indigenous bodies and communities from accessing the river and really became almost like the Khoisan Berlin Wall. And so this proposed wall, in my view, will superimpose a second layer on an already existing apartheid marker, which is the N2, and create a Gaza border on each side. Just like the highways in occupied Palestine, these walls really keep out of sight indigenous bodies and crimes against humanity. Instead, sort of make for a sort of, lovely, uninterrupted, driving experience, especially from Cape Town International Airport, all the way down, I suppose, targeted towards the waterfront.
So we're certainly seeing these patterns of making decisions without public participation and drawing the connections there of this wall to Palestine and the walls and Bantustans that have been built there historically and currently in order to steal land. Tauriq, how is this wall potentially connected to the Cape exit agenda?
If anything, it's around the cordoning off and the secessioning of a space, will look like. Already, the city of Cape Town is usually critiqued as a tale of two cities. And what this wall basically will do is that it would really augment this Woodwardian idea of separate development, this idea of having two sets of interests that would constitute a city. One of the interests would be reeling from apartheid spatial planning, squalor, poverty, and excessive challenges around safety and security and so forth. And then the other interest of the city is basically a city that would be subsidized in terms of its upkeep through its manicured lawns and a particular kind of service delivery that purports to this world-class existence. And this wall it's very clear in terms of which group of our citizenry this wall is going to conveniently invisibilize from the overall landscape in order to almost create a particular genus loci that would want to impress a particular kind of experience, one of impression, secondly, that aligns to, certainly in my view, the thinking and the framework of a pre-1994 situation. This war, in many ways, it hatches out of a Verwoerdian paradigm, and I think that it's absolutely shocking that in December 2025 we live in any municipality in this country that would still come up with these kinds of solutions to deal with systemic societal problems of wanting to basically allocate 180 million rands of taxpayers' money into a war that would also have to require a proceeding budget in terms of how that war hypothetically would have to be looked after, year in and year out. So issues around environmental sustainability and the fact that that amount of concrete being plastered, all across two areas where residents are actually living, where people are actually conducting their lives, has a number of adverse effects, both from an environmental perspective, but certainly from a living social angle. In that this is not a solution that is generated out of an holistic, humane purview of wanting to rather invest those funds into the in an integrated way that tackles very complex social issues that that the affected communities are faced with on a daily basis, but literally to instead want to create a different kind of space that would basically shunt 350 years of a particular kind of system that is really manifested in the sort of township areas on either side of the N2, where these do become living embodiments of the sordid realities of apartheid spatial planning, but also an embodiment of the very real and direct challenges that people in this country are facing.
Tauriq Jenkins providing us there with critical insight as to what's happening in Cape Town, the Western Cape, and drawing the connections to the rest of South Africa and international. Always a pleasure, Tauriq, a regular with us on Salam Media and also a member of the People's TRC. Thank you very much, Tauriq, and we'll certainly be in touch very soon. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam, and thank you very much for having me.
Excellent. Tauriq Jenkins there, certainly one of our country's most excellent and committed activists, always busy trying to make a difference in our country, as indeed we all should. It's the festive season, but the work must continue to try and create a better world for the 99%. We'll be closing this segment with a very special video from Hafiz Imran Chunara, who is with the Africa Muslims Agency, its CEO, in a segment called Fired Up, where he shares his tips and insights on remaining motivated through the December period, but also going into a new year, a Gregorian year at that. And we're very happy to be sharing this important content with you to keep you motivated and inspired. After this video segment, you'll catch us on the fourth and final link for today's show, which is an interview with Professor Michael Rechtenwald from AZAPAC, the Anti-Zionist American Political Action Group, in a fascinating must-watch interview. You can watch on Salam Media's YouTube channel, also live streaming to Facebook. Don't go anywhere. We've got the video from Hafiz Imran Chunara coming up. Fired up on News and Views with Salam Media.